Approximately 1.8 crore passengers travel daily on Indian Railways. The Indian Railways is the fourth largest national railway system by size. Since the 1900s, the Indian Railways has witnessed significant transformations, and the latest amongst them is the upgrade of more than 1,200 train stations under the GOI's Amrit Bharat station. This even as numerous Vande Bharat trains are being flagged across the country by the Prime Minister. Let's take a deep dive into this remarkable journey of the Indian Railways, and it is our Union Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav who's addressing the media right now. Let's quickly listen to what he says.
70 स्टेशंस पे एक साथ काम चल रहा है अभी 270 स्टेशंस पे 272 एक्चुअल नंबर 270 स्टेशंस पे काम चल रहा है तेजी से और बहुत सारे स्टेशंस अभी कंप्लीशन पे आ गए। आज मैं सुबह ही देख रहा था बहुत जल्दी उधना स्टेशन का कंप्लीशन होने को आया और भी कई सारे स्टेशन है, करीब करीब 18 के आसपास स्टेशन कंप्लीशन की स्टेज पे आ गए। तो एक तरीके से पैसेंजर्स के लिए एक टोटली नया मोदी जी ने रेलवे का एक नया स्वरूप दिया है और ये बहुत जरूरी था कि ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो, क्योंकि 140 करोड़ की जनसंख्या को अगर हम अच्छी फैसिलिटी से ट्रैवल कराना चाहते हैं तो उसमें बहुत ज़रूरी है कि रेलवे ट्रांसफॉर्म हो। आज करीब रेलवे में 800 करोड़ लोग साल के ट्रैवल करते हैं, 800 करोड़। आप कहोगे 800 करोड़ कैसे हुआ, जनसंख्या 140 है। तो कोई व्यक्ति अगर एक से ज़्यादा बार ट्रैवल करता है तो उसको ट्रिप यानी पैसेंजर ट्रिप जिसको कैलकुलेट टेक्निकल टर्म में कहते हैं, वो पैसेंजर ट्रिप्स हुई 800 करोड़ और 250 करोड़ के आसपास 250 करोड़ के आसपास रोड से पैसेंजर ट्रिप्स बनती हैं और 30 करोड़ के आसपास एयरलाइन से बनती हैं। तो इतनी बड़ी जनसंख्या हमारी और मिडिल क्लास और लोअर इनकम बहुत टोटली उनके लिए रेलवे सबसे बड़ा साधन है। तो इसी भावना के साथ, इसी सेवा की भावना के साथ रेलवे का ओवरऑल मोदी जी ने पिछले 9 वर्षों में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन किया है। मैं आऊँगा साथियों बहुत क्विकली टेलीकॉम पे और इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स पे, उसके बाद में क्वेश्चंस लेंगे। टेलीकॉम में आप अगर याद करो 9 साल पहले एक तरीके से सेक्टर ऐसा था जिस सेक्टर में केवल स्कैम और करप्शन और एक ऐसी परिस्थितियां हो गई थी कि लोग उसमें सेक्टर से बाहर निकलने की पोजीशन में आ गए थे। आज टेलीकॉम सेक्टर एक वाइब्रेंट, ग्रोइंग, इनोवेशन ड्रिवन सेक्टर की तरह उभर के आया। लोएस्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ डेटा, लोएस्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ वॉइस, मोस्ट अफोर्डेबल टेलीकॉम इंडस्ट्री इन द वर्ल्ड कहा गया है आईटीयू की रिपोर्ट्स में। आईटीयू इंटरनेशनल टेलीकम्युनिकेशन यूनियन, आप जानते हैं जो वर्ल्ड की सबसे बड़ी टेलीकॉम संस्था है, यूनाइटेड नेशंस की है, ये यूएन की है। उसने अपने सर्वेज में कहा है कि इंडिया इज द मोस्ट अफोर्डेबल telecom sector in the world.
All right, so that was our Union Minister speaking about how there are crores and crores of people within the country that travel with the mode of transport being used as railways, and how integral that becomes for the lower middle income and the middle class when it comes to the mode of transport that they use. I'm going to start off my conversation with Sudhanshu Mani. He's the mastermind for the Vande Bharat Express that is being flagged off by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in several parts of the country. It's good to have you, Sudhanshu Mani, on the telecast with us. And the all-important news that has been announced by the Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav is that there are going to be almost 1,300 of the railway stations across the length and breadth of the country that are going to be also transformed. They are going to be renovated. Now, how important and essential does it become to revive the railway system every few years?
Of course, it is important, and it's good that so many stations are going to be upgraded. But we must remember, upgradation of stations is being talked about for more than a decade, and we have upgraded only 2 stations till now, Habibganj and Gandhinagar. What we need is stations to be functionally effective. वो एयरपोर्ट बनाने की उनको जरूरत नहीं है, because stations और एयरपोर्ट बहुत फर्क है. What you need is very easy entry and exit very good information system so that a passenger doesn't have to ask here and there about the platform of the train, location of the coach, and so on, and pleasing and hygienic environment. I think more stress should be on that, and definitely a lot has to be done in that area still. And announcement is good, intention is good, but we have to see translation of this intention on the ground.
Absolutely. And since the focus is on transformation, renovation of railway stations, why do you think it has taken the Government of India to wait so long for this transformation, for this change? And there may be railway stations that may have been built since the 1900s and they have not been renovated thus far.
So it's not very right to say that why has it taken so much time. It's being discussed for 15, 20 years, and even today, the transformation has not taken place. It is yet to take place. So we would be very happy if it does take place. But mere announcement does not make it happen. So I hope the execution is also improved. And we do have these, as I said, functionally effective railway stations, and not this, let's say, there is, a lot of hype to make them like airport and so on, but that's not required. We need very functionally effective railway stations for the common man.
Okay, so also, is there more confidence among the people on the Government of India currently, keeping in mind there has been rolling out of Vande Bharats one after the other across the length and breadth of the country, therefore more confidence in the government to then come up with a strong execution plan to renovate these railway stations, 12,075 railway stations, that the promise that has been made by the government.
So let's talk of Vande Bharat. So as the creator of the train, I am also obviously very happy that more and more such trains are being built and inaugurated. Practically every train so far has been inaugurated by the Prime Minister himself. The train, as the Prime Minister himself says, is just a train, not a Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan, but it represents the spirit of resurgent and aspirational India in its looks, in its speed. But matching with these introduction of these trains should be upgradation of the infrastructure so that the full potential of the train can be exploited. That has not really happened so far. The train can actually cut down travel time much more. So once again, I hope more stress is given to upgradation of the track infrastructure also, so that the train can be exploited to its potential.
Do you think at this time we have enough infrastructure to allow for this fast trains, the super fast trains, to work to their full potential?
As I said, you see, the train has very good acceleration and deceleration. It has good amenities. So introduction itself is being liked by people, and it is cutting down travel time to some extent. So the infrastructure to run these trains to advantage of people exists. The need is to improve the infrastructure so that the full potential is exploited.
Also, you've been the mastermind behind this Vande Bharat mission that was initiated, and you've taken a lot of pains, a lot of challenges came your way. But at last you were able to firefight all of them. What led to the persuasion to allow for the Government of India to finally take the execution plan forward?
So one of the reasons is definitely when the train, when we turned out the train, it was purely an effort of Integral Coach Factory and a great team of engineers and staff there who had this, chutzpah to do something new. But after it was turned out, the train was noticed by the Prime Minister himself. And I have no doubt that so many trains are being built by Indian Railways mainly because it is the thrust of the Prime Minister. Otherwise, Indian Railways is a bureaucracy and the train would have been perhaps lost in oblivion. But one must accept that the thrust given by the Prime Minister has resulted in this large-scale proliferation of the train.
Absolutely, sir. Also, what do you make of these stray incidents that come forth, which is unfortunate that there are these miscreants that end up attacking the Vande Bharat trains? Now, how can we ensure that these incidents do not take place and the miscreants are reprimanded and strong action taken against them?
So there are two aspects, one is of course the purely criminal aspect of these incidents. And for that, the train has side cameras now. And there have been at least 2, 3 I'm aware of where these miscreants were actually apprehended based on the images from this camera. But there is a larger socio-economic issue here also. Obviously, most of these people who have thrown stones and so on are from the deprived section of the society. So I do hope as the economic condition in the country, as people have more money in their pockets, these things will stop. For the time being, so while criminal action is I think the government is doing enough to make sure that it doesn't happen. But by and large, as India progresses, these incidents would also stop.
Okay. I'm also being joined by Sandeep Agarwal. He is the PhD chamber of the railway sector expert. Sandeep, let's understand from you. Has the railway transformation push come to a stage where we are finally going to be seeing in our lifetimes these changes and transformations that the railway system needed for a very long time?
No, that's very true. The railway has been trying to transform for a very long time. But on the floor where we see that 100-year-old railway stations were there. So the lighting, like we have changed the our new parliament we have got, all old buildings which are 50 to 70 or 100 years old, these actually need to be replaced, and that is what is aim right now of the government, to upgrade all the most of the bigger and the middle and even railway stations. 175 railway stations government is talking about, and I believe that yes, earlier we were moving at some slow speed from thinking about doing something to actually able to do it. We were taking a long time. These days, we find under Modi government that we are actually able to implement what we envisage much faster. So that was shown in the Vande Bharat, that has been shown in the few upgrades of the railway stations. Now, with so many railway stations in pipeline being worked upon, I'm pretty sure that amenities will improve, the security. There are so many tenders which have come out for security cameras and display boards on the railway stations. But when they will be done in a composite manner, then we also will have the waiting stations, proper waiting stations for people.
Correct. Yeah. Joyita, let me get Joyita also into the conversation. Joyita, if we take a look back, perhaps a couple of decades ago, I remember as a child, I would visit the railway stations. Now they were stinking. They would be stinking because of the nearby toilets that were not being cleaned, or for that matter, there were pan stains that you would see as you entered the railway station. It would be jam-packed with people. Have you and your experience, how has it been? And when was the last time you ended up visiting a railway station?
Well, Megha, it has been a long time actually. But even then I would say maybe pre-pandemic. Okay, I don't think I visited after that. I mean, pre-pandemic, when I visited, I think they were pretty clean. Most of the stations that in fact I visited somewhere in rural Bengal, and that was a pretty clean one. Howrah station I visited, that was a very clean one. But at the same time, if you, the kind of feedback I get if you go through social media, if you talk to people who travel by train, while yes, things have improved, but the fact of the matter, two things are still bother people a lot. I would say, you see, it's okay to have Vande Bharat and new express trains and all, but what is not okay is the number one, the delay that takes place. Because you see, I mean, you do come across Facebook posts and on Twitter that there is a 5-hour delay, and these are not the important trains. So there are 5-hour delays, there are 6-hour delays. So that delay is a major problem. And the other thing, the conditions of the older trains. It is fine to have Vande Bharat Express, Shatabdi and Rajdhani and all, but you see it is not okay, because you see, I mean, this image, this message should not go out that the concern is primarily about fancy trains like Vande Bharat and the Rajdhani and that kind of train, the premier trains, and not for the where the masses travel in.
Yeah.
You see until and unless that is improved, that message of development is not going to the ground.
Okay.
And I don't think that situation has changed as yet, but I do believe that track regeneration, new tracks and the condition of the tracks, that has kind of, I think the tracks have been strengthened. I think they have a particular technical term for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that has, but I don't think mass travel for the masses has had any improvement.
Mithun, I would also like to understand from you, and when the Prime Minister was launching the first Vande Bharat, and there was a talk about what the fare of the Vande Bharat seat for a passenger is, and while there is the first class, there is also the passenger class, there is also the second class, and those fares are also competitive to your regular trains, whether it is Rajdhani or whether it is Shatabdi or other expresses that run. And because the prices of the tickets are competitive, therefore it not just becomes a mode of transport for the elite, but a mode of transport for the public, and therefore it is gaining a lot of traction amongst people.
Yes, definitely. Vande Bharat is a very ambitious project, and it has reduced the travel time of people by at least 2 hours in many places, even in places like Kerala where you don't have these straight railway lines. So that definitely is a achievement by this government. And you see, there is no area of development that the Modi government has not touched upon. And the railways have always been an ambitious project for them. And the Amrit Bharat station scheme, this is all about giving our railway stations a major makeover. And I don't know how many stations, like the previous panelists I heard people saying that, many stations have not been, very few stations have been upgraded till now. But here we are talking about a whopping 1,275 stations being upgraded across the country. And if it materializes, it's going to be a big change. And although we have waited long, but now here we have a news for transformation, and Modi government has a record of achieving what they announced. And like Amit Shah himself says that Modi government has fulfilled 90% of their manifesto promises. So let's expect to see the brand new look and feel of our stations. And I heard you sharing a mental image of our railway stations that you have. So if this project materializes, this announcement is achieved, you'll be walking into a railway station, and it won't be like the ordinary station that you are used to seeing anymore. It will be modern, clean, and super comfortable. And here we are talking about world-class amenities, top-notch cleanliness, and with a strong focus on safety and accessibility. So it's like stepping into a whole new world of travel. And it's not just about the physical upgrades also. The government has a grand vision for these railway stations. They are not just any transit points anymore. Instead, they are vibrant centers of connectivity and economic growth.
Yeah.
So I'm sure these upgraded stations will play a key role in boosting the local economy there.
Yeah. Sandeep, also there have been a few railway stations that have already been transformed. They've been renovated, and they look nothing like our traditional railway stations. They look like these very swanky areas of connectivity, and can be even compared to the fancy airports at the IGI airport, the Chhatrapati Shivaji airport. So there are examples. These models have already been created. Not so many, maybe a handful of them, but the model has already been created.
I'll tell you, what is important is, as one of my friends said, that airport-like look is not that important. But why it's happening is because you are not making a railway station for 10 years lifetime or 20 years lifetime. These are made for at least 50 years lifetime. Now, the previous ones have been used for 100 years. So now we have to build those kind of facilities which will last for the next 50 to 100 years. Probably you will be needing air conditioning because people will be expecting that in future. Today, only in the big cities, people expect that, okay, railway stations could be air conditioned. But in future, everywhere this kind of requirement will be there. The climates are getting warmer, so people will need better amenities. They would need hot food and cold air. So all this is required. Government is doing perfectly
Yeah.
good in coming up with infrastructure, which is requirement of today, but which is the requirement of 20 years from today. It's very important. What has been happening earlier, that we will make a report and come out with a project which was as per the requirement of that time. By the time the report was made, by the time the construction started and we had the railway station upgraded, the requirements were of 10 years ago. We have to think about 20 years in future. And what is more important is that for the security, we need to do the expressway line security of these high-speed trains. It is not only stone pelting, it is people who may use this railway lines to cross, which have been using, people have been using it.
Yeah.
When we see these fast trains coming, they are not able to move away. And sometimes that could be the hunger which people are using to throw boulders and stones on the trees
Right.
from other people.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we put expressway-like infrastructure along the routes of the railway lines. And, as we are from the industry, I would like to recommend to the government that while we are upgrading the stations, while we are upgrading the signaling and telecom network in the railway lines, which is obviously resulting in the increase in the speeds, and so also resulting in decrease in the distance between the trains.
Right. Okay.
Therefore,
Fair
the
enough.
density
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the-
So
the
world-class
density-
models of train stations is what we are talking about. And Joyita, there have been expansive measures that have been taken, multi-crore rupees, whether it is the New Delhi railway station, we talk about the Bengaluru railway station, we talk about the Mumbai Chhatrapati terminus, and the overhaul that is going to be done, the massive plans that have been put on paper. Again, keeping up with the transformation that have been witnessed across the globe, whether we go to Europe, the expansive metro, the expensive train connectivity that we see over there is something that needs to be emulated here in our country, and it has started to happen. And very significant is also this underground railway tracks that are being put. And that's a challenge in itself. And if that is taking place, and there are very few stations across the globe, including in Beijing, which have these underground train networks. This is a challenge in itself, but India is taking on this challenge.
First of all, Megha, I think India has one of the most extensive rail networks in the world. I mean, given the size of Germany and all, they are tiny, and in terms of population, they are tiny compared to India. And given India's population, I would say perhaps India has the most extensive rail network that I think the world has seen, and it has to be, because this is the most cheap way of commuting for the people of the country. And you see, and considering India is taking huge strides when it comes to development, it is, I mean, we are a $3 trillion economy. We are being told that inside the next 2 years, we should be $5 trillion. So it's but natural to keep up with that space, to keep up with the changing face of India. You have to develop your train stations in a way that they are comparable internationally. But yes, when we are talking about that, you see, I mean, I will be satisfied until only when I see, constant cleaning of the train stations. It's okay to have an infrastructure in place, but it does not help in for a place like New Delhi, which must be seeing lakhs and lakhs of commuters on any given day. So, to keep up with that passenger flow, you need to have your toilets clean, you need to keep your seats maintained properly, your escalators should be working fine, because you see, just when we are aspiring to be a developed economy, maybe by 2047, to reach that stage, we need to get our basic hygiene, literally basic hygiene
and
clear.
also then state of the art. When we talk about escalators, lifts at the railway stations, it should not be an anomaly. It should be something that we Indians, anybody, a passenger is used to. Keeping in mind, we have to lug heavy luggage while we are traveling, while we are going from one platform to another or climbing up the stairs, it becomes a cumbersome task. And I, as a child, have experienced that as well. Quickly, one comment from Mithun before I wrap up this discussion. So while we take on this next stage of renovating our railway stations, there is another stage that we have already taken. We have leaped forth when we talk about these underground railway stations. And in West Bengal, the underground metro is in progress. There are a couple of other places where the underground railway tracks are being laid out. Now, how difficult and challenging this task is for the railways to commit and fulfill?
See, Megha, when Vande Bharat was announced, it seemed like an very difficult task for us, but we completed it in a very easy manner. So there are many ambitious projects like that which have been achieved by this government, and achieving this wouldn't be a task at all, is what I believe. And this government they're all about embracing development and technology to make our lives easier. And I can actually fondly remember how within a month of coming to power, the Prime Minister announced the first ever citizen engagement portal of India. It was like first of its kind. No one ever thought that such an engagement portal could be created in a country like this. And that was the first ever example of real democracy. People could just go in there, log in there and share their comments, and the comments would actually be seen by people in power. So this government has time and again ensured that India must be at par with the best in the world. And these upgraded stations are, the stations that are going to be upgraded are just a testament to that. So with initiatives like this, and the government is only taking us closer and closer to our dream of modern, inclusive and technologically advanced India. And what we need to understand is the Amrit Bharat station scheme, it's not about upgrading infrastructure, but also transforming lives and, creating endless opportunities for people.
You are absolutely right. All right.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.